It is. And we're on.
We're on. You actually called me that as a kid.
Later on.
Yeah. No, my brother's name was Ron.
Yes.
And all my aunties and uncles called me Ron. Right, so I go to Canada.
Yeah.
I thought, now, no one knows my brother. So this lady asked me what my name was, and I said, Brian. Sure, glad to meet you, Ron. That's a fact.
No getting away from it.
And she said to me, you Australians roll your R's when you talk. I said, no, dear, only when I walk.
Now, for the sake of...
Kiss me, baby.
Oh, no. For the sake of new people out there, we'll try to articulate more clearly.
Very slowly.
Speak a little more slowly, and you've mentioned not being able to understand us. Yeah. Completely understandable.
Well,
I mean, first of all, you're finding out for the first time that the Christ is on the earth and has been since the day and the hour, January the 11th, 1944, the hour being 2:22 a.m., fulfilling...
There's a reason she's saying this, however.
Fulfilling the parable, a thief in the night.
That's one of them. Now, there is another one that we're going to have to sort of mention before we get stuck into this. What is it? Time being what?
Oh, time being shortened. Unless those days are shortened, there would be no flesh left to save. Talking about the animal kingdom, human beings, all life on the earth, nothing left to save. How could that be so? Well, I think most of you know now that 5G is the silent weapon.
Well, let's get a little bit. We're dealing with the lovely people here. And they're so stupid. Adolf Hitler had it right back in 1938 when he was writing Mein Kampf.
No, it was much earlier than that.
All right, 1927. Does it matter?
Oh, yeah, it does. It was 1920.
When he first thought up the idea about 1910.
As a very small boy.
Unless you stop the lovely people. Is that what he said? Something like that. That all life on Earth will be complete. The Earth would be a lifeless sphere floating in the ether of space. Now, since they've got all the Democrats and all the Republicans who go to Congress, they've got to sign a paper saying that they will always support Israel. Right? Now, Musk, as you know, is this guy that's was financed in the position of having, what's it called, Rocket X?
SpaceX.
Okay.
Elon Musk.
Musk.
Former CIA.
Right.
Or probably still
he was
CIA.
educated in South Africa, so he's not one of the lovely people, but he was lovely people, had the control of the school that he went to. So he was educated as being a lovely kid, one of the lovely people, one of the self-chosen. On the 22nd of February, this year, SpaceX, is it SpaceX?
Yes.
SpaceX launches for the Israelis a probe that's going to take 7 weeks to get to the moon.
8 weeks.
7 weeks to get to the moon. $49 days. Right. It's actually 48 and land on the 49. That's 7 weeks. Call me old-fashioned, but I do.
Yeah.
So, they've also got this thing called Dragon
Crew.
To go to the International Space Station back and forwards. And they've also produced all this information of the history of the Earth according to the Israeli.
No, this I have to explain. Just reading through, really for the first time, the whole SpaceX site. they had the launch on the February the 22nd to go to the moon, put the Israeli probe on the moon. They're supposed to arrive on April the 11th. And they have already launched into space, and it's supposed to be orbiting the sun, this box that contains a trilogy written by Isaac Abramov, something like that. It's the trilogy of the foundation, I suppose, of the universe. And it's been burned into a DVD, right? So this is what is floating through the ether of space. And to the moon, in the capsule, they have Wikipedia in 5,000 different languages with the language keys, etc. This is, now Wikipedia, you know, is Israel. It's Israel behind the scenes.
We know it is because my name's not in it.
The Lord Jesus Christ, we shall forbid Christ. You can't find his name in it. We had it stick. We did have it
about
stick.
40 seconds.
No, it was longer than that. It was for some time because we had the publication. Thank you, John Lynch's son-in-law. The publication that all started with the Reddit forum, and then the reporter picked it up, and there was a publication through the Daily Mail, the Express, online publications, about 100 of them, that started on the 27th of July 2015, and it was about Yah and his shroudy image and Pope Benedict's apostolic letter announcing the Christ on the earth. And so that was the outside source, because with Wiki you've got to have an outside source. It can't come from original source. It's got to be an outside source confirming. So
the Pope's not good.
It wasn't even the Pope, it was the publication by the Daily Mail and the Express, the online publications. So that still wasn't good enough, and Yah has been completely eradicated from the wiki that is going to the moon for future generations.
No, that's what's wrong. Let's just get this out that straight now. 5 grams of plutonium, according to these experts, dropped onto the Earth's atmosphere was enough to kill all life on Earth. 5 grams.
5 grams.
Right.
So
Up in space, they launched some years ago 72 kilograms of plutonium.
Oh, yes.
Right. So all satellites will eventually fall back to the Earth and burn up. So there's going to be 72 kilograms, not 5 grams, of plutonium saturating Earth's atmosphere and kill all life. Go back to what Hitler said. Unless the lovely people are stopped, all life on Earth will be finished. Right? And the Earth will be left a lifeless sphere floating in the ether of space. He said that in 1927.
About that time. When he was writing Mein Kampf. Now,
was he in jail at the time?
Yes, he was. He was in the Landsberg jail, and that's where he started to write it and gave him time and opportunity. However, Galen Windsor from 1985 has been dispelling the myth of the dangers of plutonium when he had 5 grams of plutonium holding in his hand. And as a demonstration.
He puts a Geiger counter on it and all that. It's genuine stuff. Yeah. And he puts it in his hand and he licks it. Right? And he said he will be breaking the law subject to 10 years in jail by going on a plane with this in his stomach. Right? With plutonium.
But before that, that was the something oxide he had that left the smear on his hand. The plutonium was secondary to this. But
we'll put the link.
Yeah,
so you can watch this guy. This guy's an expert. He used to walk around with the plutonium in either pocket. He said what the problem is, if you get it too close together, it wants to repel each other, but it then gives off a blue light.
The arc.
He said then you pull it apart.
Yeah, it's energy.
So he said this is how the nuclear reactors work. And he said that in the submarines that they've got running around the Earth, they can go underwater for, usually for a month at a time. And he said that the nuclear reactor is about twice as big as my arms around. And he said that's enough to power this thing at 39 or something knots for 17 to 20 years, continuously. It gives the salt water desalination, it gives the heat for the...
Light, heat.
That's right. Everything that's needed on the
including a suntan.
And it can give, they have little lamps they plug in to give you suntan because you've got to get vitamin D. And he said, but it's much easier if they put less insulation around this thing to go and stand there. He said, in the suntan you give them off. He said, it's the same as the sun of a nuclear reactor. I was coming in. No, I've mentioned many times, I'm speaking too fast, aren't I? I have mentioned many times that the nuclear fusion rate of the sun is 657 million tonnes per second, converting hydrogen into helium. So, the 657 is how many lords there are in the King James New Testament. Right? Most of. Now, what they're trying to do is they know in their we shall forbid Christ, written many years ago in the 1800s, they know they haven't been able to forbid Christ. So what they have done is stop me getting on wicked.
Which is in Israel's world is going to be the history of the universe for the future generations.
No, it's not for the future generations.
Well,
let me get to this point.
Okay.
They want to kill all life, right? Because they think they can with plutonium. Right? They're going to drop it on the earth, 70 kilos of it. Right? Remember, 5 grams is enough in their estimations. 5 grams is enough.
Well, that's what
it's totally harmless.
That's what they've told the world.
That's what the world has been convinced because of the abominations that control the regulations of nuclear waste and how it's disposed of 3,200 feet in the ground in salt or solid rock or something like that. And there was arguing the point where they're going to put it. What this fellow was saying, who was the expert, he designed all the machines to store this energy and also the nuclear reactors. He would swim in the pools of nuclear, where they have these pools of nuclear cooling fluid. He would dive in and swim in them every day. He'd walk around with plutonium in his pockets. Right? This is a guy that's an expert on it. And he said what it's all to do with is money. And they've made all these regulations that are so profoundly stupid. Therefore, it becomes huge when it comes to what you're going to do with this nuclear waste. He said it is so efficient that they can't put a meter on it. Every house should be paying about $20 a month for their electricity, and that's it. That covers all expenses for all the nuclear reactors that you build. In fact, it was John Howard, this piece of shit who was the Prime Minister in Australia. He said one sensible thing. He said we should go to nuclear energy. Right? He could have bit his tongue off because they don't want that. Right?
There's no money in it.
There's no money in it.
One's controlling it.
Exactly right.
And we would.
So he's explaining all the facets of non-danger to plutonium and how many people died or didn't die in Nagasaki and Hiroshima and how they were protected. Right? So he goes into that, and you can look it up and read and listen
Bottom
to
line
this.
is, you think of it as energy from the sun.
What they're doing,
shield yourself from sunburn.
What they're doing is they're going to kill all life on the Earth, right? And therefore leave when the aliens get here, right? They'll go to the moon and they'll see, there is a landing thing on the moon because America never went there. So this is the first thing that's going to be landed on the moon ever, because the moonwalk was all bullshit, right? Propaganda. So now with SpaceX, they've gone there and they're going to have this thing, and inside it, the aliens will look inside, depending how big they are. But they might be able to open the door, or maybe they're too big and they can't get it. But anyhow, they're going to look inside, and there it is, Israel of the history of the earth, which is now
according to Wikipedia.
According to Wikipedia. And my name ain't on it. So what I did in my inevitable fashion I did the positions of the planets on the launch on the 22nd of February this year. So we've got Saturn 6.21 astronomical units from the king planet, which is Jupiter. Jupiter has a radius of 44430, and that number is how many gods there are in the entire 3877 verses of the Old and New Testament. Right. So what the Bible has done is linked all the gods and all the lords into one. So,
upper and lowercase.
So uppercase, lowercase, doesn't matter. So during the time of when the judges ruled Israel, they were all gods, right? So they're in there as well, right? So you end up with 6,666 times the word Lord is found, including Lord Jesus and Lord everything else back through space. And if you look at what Jesus said, he said, no one's seen God. No one's talked to God. If you've seen God, you've seen me. If you heard God, you heard me. Right? Hasta la vista, I'm out of here, right? So what he was doing was destroying the religion of Moses, which evolved out of the nonsense that was found in Babylon, which is Judaism. So he was destroying Judaism. And if you watch my video, or our video, the other day, I should say that because I've been nudged, Book of Daniel. It's talking about the pit, it's talking about everything that's going to happen. So what I've done was I uploaded from the time that God got to the earth, which was my conception date, which was 1910 years exactly after the resurrection, which is on the Strait of Turin, etc., etc. The proof is astronomical in my favour. So they don't want to talk about that, right? They want their Messiah to come, but he ain't coming because I'm here and I ain't going to allow it, so therefore they're going to kill everybody on earth. That's what they're trying to do. So we've got the Jupiter planet, which is the king planet, which is 4430 miles wide, and that's how many times the word God is found in 3877 verses, and that's how far it is from the South Pole to the hospital I was born into, 3877.6 miles. So you take a Jesus lifespan of 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 days times pi, why pi. The Milky Way galaxy is pi, because it's 100,000 light years wide, and the distance around it is pi. So that's the mother, that's conceived of God the Father, where the embryo is the earth, that's why there's no life in space. So the embryo is about to become a baby. That's us, right? So you've got to have God on the earth to verify all this, because all the bullshit you've been fed over the years, especially your Bibles. Like the best thing I said years ago was to poke a hole through it and hang it in your shitter and wipe your ass on it. Let's take the Quran, take your Bibles, take all this religious works, it's all bullshit. So all they're good for, and I'm not even sure about that because they've got ink on them. Right? You don't want to get your ass covered in ink. So we've got the distances. We've got 6.21 astronomical units to Saturn. Venus is 4.7. The Sun is 5.34. Mercury is 3.64, and the Earth is 5.5, which is Christ. And we've got Mars at 6.86, which is 32.3, minus the 5.55, because that's the Earth Christ number, and we get 2675. So we just keep that for the moment, keep it in mind. So then we go to Uranus, it's 24.24, hello, that's Jesus, right, in the concordance. Then you've got Neptune, 30.88, and you've got Pluto, 29.87. That significance is usually Pluto is further out than the other planets. So for a total of 84.9. So you take the two, that is not 2424, the next two, which is Neptune and Pluto, and you add them together, you get 60.75. You add that to the 26.75, and that gives you a pit, the pit of hell, right? These, I nearly said Jews then, I don't mean that. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Lovely people.
The lovely people, the self-chosen, the chosen of God, there you go. Now, what they're doing, they are so stupid, they did it on that date for a specific reason, but they didn't realise it's going to reveal all my numbers in it. And so I just blow them out the water, right, as usual. So on top of that, we've got 11.7.29, right? And that number, of course, we then can look at it, and it's in Nahum 3:4. And can you look that up? I'll give you the number. I've got this neat little thing here. It's got all these concordance numbers in it. You don't recall?
Glasses.
No, I'll do it, it's all right. 1172. 1172. So that is in Nahum. Very, very obscure little prophet of the Old Testament. Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favoured harlot, that is the Jew, the lovely people. I never said Jews, I'm not allowed to say that. Right. The mistress of witchcrafts,
Kabbalah,
that selleth nations, that number is 1471.
which is called
We'll come back to that. Through her whoredoms and families through her witchcraft. Now the number 1471 is Goyim, that's all us people, right? All can I spell it?
lovely people.
WEJs.
WEJs.
There's backwards.
Okay.
They're very backward people. So you go back to 1141, and what does all that mean? Well, I'll tell you. Which you knew I would, right? 1471. 1471 is swelling inside, is pregnant, great with child, and it's in Luke 1. It's Luke 25. To be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, which is bullshit. Joseph was never espoused to. He was the ward of, appointed by the temple priests to look after this young woman who her mother, who had given birth when she was 72 years old, had since died, and she had to go live. They actually put her into the temple when she was 3 years old. So she was raised as a pure young woman, being great with child. So she becomes pregnant, right, after visiting Gethsemane, the garden, and Gabriel had been to her and told her she was going to conceive, and the child would be the Holy One. Right? So that is in Luke 2:5. To be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. They can't help it, they have to put in their bullshit. But anyhow, the part of espoused is true, is not true. The part of being the pregnant is true. That's it. So if you go from my house in 31680 kilometres around the earth at Nell Street, go up to my first harlot wife, down to where I was born, that is at 105 Rothschild Avenue, that tells you who the beast is, and then back down to the
Nell Street.
Nell Street, it is that number, 1471 kilometres. That's how it all fits together. These lovely people are too stupid to understand all this. They think that now, after many years of trying to kill me, they haven't succeeded. So now the next option is what's called the Samson option, and that is to kill everybody on earth. Either do what we say, or, and of course, the United States is sucking up to them all the way through from the Second World War. Right? So they created Israel. So this lifeless piece of dirt that they stole off the rightful owners, the Palestinians, and been murdering Palestinians. They've been able to convince the churches that the Messiah is going to come only when, this is Jewish, again, the lovely people's Messiah can only come when they start cutting the throats of little lambs in the temple, right, which America is going to rebuild for them. Unfortunately, it is on the where the dome of the rock is, which is this golden thing you see in the middle of Jerusalem. They've got to destroy that first, because they've been undermining it all these years, and they've got all packed with explosives to blow it up, and they say, it's an act of God, a meteor will come down and hit it. That's what they're going to try and do. However, they're running out of time. So, just to be sure, they go up into space, and they've got these things landing. This thing is supposed to land on the moon. Supposed to land on the moon.
11th of April.
Right, on the 11th of April. So after a 49-day trip, right, they're there. However, this other thing that's been supplying through the SpaceX again to the International Space Station, which the lovely people have been doing.
Well, actually, no, the Russians.
It's called a dragon. Right? Now, the word Lord is found in the 4 books of the Torah, which is again bullshit, all invented in Babylon. So we've got Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and Exodus. It's all a load of crap, right? So 1,404 times the word Lord is found in that, and that is the word dragon in the concordance.
Greek concordance.
Greek. So I'll just
So
look
it's
that up
telling
for you.
That the Lord in the Torah is the dragon.
Yes. There it is. A fabulous kind of serpent, perhaps as supposed to fascinate a dragon. Revelation 13 times.
And speaking of serpents, we have one of our own up in Papua New Guinea. We've done
this is unreal.
Just right after
One of
uploading
the only,
horn from
the only
Daniel.
village that actually accepted me as Christ is outside of Papandetto. And the fellow who is Noble Suma, he's a very, very well-respected, beautiful man. And I talk to him on a regular basis, like 2 or 3 times a week. So they wanted me to supply some equipment to go into a pit, they call it, and send in the men, and they're going to take out samples to see what gold they have, which they believe to be a substantial amount. And I said, all right, I'll do that. So every time they go into these areas, they come back and say, there's a huge serpent, snake. In the pit.
Can't do anything because of the snake.
Said, what? How big is it? Right? They give me all sorts of sizes, like 8 metres, 9 metres, 10 metres,
it's
getting
a
bigger and bigger.
44-gallon drum in
The
diameter.
skirts is about this round, right? I said, wait a minute. I had looked at New Guinea snakes, and the biggest one is about 6 feet. Right? And a lot of them are poisonous, but none are aggressive. So if you're walking down a track and there's a snake there and he hears you coming, which they do, they're gone. They won't wait for you to walk up and tread on them. They just disappear. So the same thing in the pit. And I'm thinking, what's this? So what it turns out to be is that the elders who are telling the chief, which I have spoken to, that they've got to appease this serpent by a child sacrifice. I find out this on a phone call 2 days ago. So, what? They're going to kill a child so they can take the... It's the second time the chief has done that.
The chief.
Back in 1972, he's got 17 children, 10 girls and 7 boys. So he's going to take the 6th son. And he's going to cut his throat and throw him in the pit. And that should appease this imaginary serpent.
Now, imagine this. All right, so I'm hearing this on the speakerphone. I'm hearing this on the speakerphone, and I'm thinking to myself, but wait on. So take the phone from me, and I said, Noble, just tell me if I have heard you correctly. You are going to or rather,
the elders want the chief.
The chief
to sacrifice.
Is going to sacrifice
his 6th son.
One of his sons to this serpent to satisfy this. Yes, he says. He did first time in 1972. His young son was sacrificed to it, but it didn't work. So they're going to sacrifice another son. He said 2nd son, but is the 6th son and so I'm asking him, you mean they're going to kill the boy and toss it into the pit with the serpent? Yes, he said. So then I said, well, how did they do this? We cut the boy. We cut the boy, and so he...
So the serpent can smell the blood. And he comes up out of the pit and he's going to devour the kid, right?
So here I am saying, so this is insane. This is the devil. You're talking to the Christ. He comes to bring life, not death. Tell the chief not to sacrifice his son. Now, Anyway.
So I sent a very long text to Noble and he forwarded it to the chief. Right, so this is it. Like, I'm out of here, right? No more money, no more helping them out, I don't care. And a lot of them apparently have already been bullshitted by the Christians, and they know about Jesus, right? So we're just waiting for the next move.
Anyway, Yah told them to take 5 river stones. Sounds a bit like David and Goliath. 5 river stones, a little bit of the boy's blood on each stone, toss it down into the pit, and then take the boy on a boat
take him back to where Noble still is. Teach him about God.
Take him to the river. Right. And teach the child about Jesus.
The serpent will follow the blood.
Right. And the other one, to
the river.
As they're throwing the stones into the pit, they are to cry, "Jesus saves." So yesterday, Noble still had not contacted, but he was about to.
And he has sent the stuff to the chief.
That's right. He forwarded the messages,
yeah.
But they were having another meeting. And they would let us know the results when he heard back from them.
Now see, the elders, they're insisting that there's got to be a sacrifice, right? So I'm saying to the chief, you're the chief, tell them to sacrifice their kids and see what they say. Right? That's what we're dealing with. Now, how important is that? Well, we go back to 1975 on the 16th of September. I was 31.68 years old, and anyone who's been following us now knows that 3168 is Lord Jesus Christ in Greek.
Greek geometry.
Greek geometry. That's why my house was on Nell Street in Melbourne, and it's 31680 kilometres around the Earth and 5813 to the South Pole. Now the lovely people fully realise that their arse is toast because they've tried to kill God on the Earth, cannot be done. Right? They've tried everything. Cyanide, bleed me to death. I give them a chance to go, no worries, what do you want to do? Want to bleed me to death? So I go into the hospital, they stick a thing in my kidney, and then they drain me through all the blood out. I'm as white as that. The thing over there, white as that. Right? After about 6 days, all of a sudden the blood comes back.
And he walked out of the hospital.
23 doctors was watching this situation when they did it. Right? I said, well, see? And how do you get it?
Now, the significance of the 31.68 years of age on the 16th of September 1975 is that was the date of declaration and celebration of the independence of Papua New Guinea from Australia. So it was these significant points in time because everything revolves around the measure of time now, against his rebirth
let's take it one step further.
Location.
All of the natives who own property, they are sovereign. They don't have birth certificates. That's what the birth certificate does. It takes you away from being a sovereign owner. So with this George Soros thing where there's no borders, open borders, what they're trying to do is open the border between New Guinea and Indonesia. Now the Indonesian army, there's 200 million Muslims there, right? And these Indonesians have been proven throughout time of being the most ruthless bastards. And what they will do is invade, because there's no borders no more, they'll invade and take over all the gold, which is already controlled. The security is already, of the nation, is controlled by Israel. They are absolutely everywhere. 0.04% of the world population, and they are controlling all world populations, all insurance, and in this case, they are the security for Papua New Guinea. Right? So, everything I told you just now, and much, much more, is of course, these Jews are, I didn't mean to say that, they're lovely people.
They're lovely people.
They are intelligent in a certain sort of way. They are psychopaths.
Evil.
Right? They can focus on doing something, they can become doctors or whatever, right? Mathematicians, you name it, astronomers, but they are stupid. You just don't go in and become something in a university and think that you're great. You've got to have a little bit of stuff up here that goes on, not just passing exams to make sure that you are going to be in all the hospitals, controlling the hospitals and the libraries and government and you name it, wherever they're. Name it, doesn't matter, they're in everything. They set the policies for Australia, what children go through now in schools,
as
what they're being taught. You've got 60 different genders, right? This is Australia of all people. The Australians, when we sent out our letter drops, we thought we'd get a couple of replies, and we knew by putting a name and address on it and a phone number that we should get some replies. So I went out to 19,000 homes, so that's about 80,000 people, and we got 5 phone calls of abuse.
Not even. But 3 different ones. And then followed up by the same person who was a psychopath. But anyway.
Now, what it's caused by, you think, is that 5G going to do us all in? No, not at all. It's already been done. It's called 4G. Where they pump the food, the vaccinations, the water, the atmosphere, chemtrails, Australians who are, I'd say on an average, is very, very high IQ, all well over 100, right? Which is the average IQ of the world. Europeans. They're higher than that. And so are New Zealanders. But they're stupid. Right? They really have, unless they've got a beer and watching a game of football, they're unhappy. Right? And they read the newspapers, oh yeah, right out. Then they watch the television and some half-clad tart or whatever. That's their entertainment. Right? Stupid. They've already done it. So these people are, if you like, not as smart as a sheep. Right? A sheep at least knows to get out of the rain. These idiots don't. I have lived with them. I've seen it in my own family, my personal relations. They are so stupid, it's unbelievable. You can't talk logic to them. So listen, the whole thing back from the time before Jesus, when Babylon, when they took over the Middle East, and then Jesus shows up, oh shit moment, and then resurrection, that's even worse, and then I come along and put all the numbers together to show how it is definitely me, but it's not Jesus coming back, that's not the whole point, it's God. Because the idea of Jesus going to the cross and dying on the cross on a specific moment in time was to give us numbers that would give us a date that he was 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 days old, times pi, and that gives you the hospital that was born into, from measuring from the South Pole. On the same date, right, of the resurrection and the same date of my conception. It's that simple. Yet these people don't get it. I am totally amazed. We've had people come here, and of course, God bless her, she starts, bless you, she starts yapping on about who I am, right? And they are totally appalled. Total rejection. She's a lunatic. I'm a lunatic. Right?
We're still waiting for the neighbour over the road after his ascent into heaven, which he does randomly, to come knocking on the door, since either, what is it, Paul or David.
Well, he was a drug addict, drinking piss and whatever, and suddenly an angel appeared to him. And he goes up into heaven.
No, that's
will you let me tell it, then you can correct it. Just starting to cry. And he's talking to Paul.
Good on you, mate.
He's talking to Jesus, and who else? Abraham. Moses.
David.
King David. He's talking to them all. So, what are you doing this for? Oh, I didn't know. So he then comes back, and now, at any time he wants to, he can go up and visit the heavenly realm. It's this lunatic across the street.
So, like we said...
Hello? They're everywhere.
We'll let his Jesus tell him that he's actually...
He will go out and say that to people, and are you really? What's it like? Right?
And that's the conversation. As I'm listening to this, I told him 6 times, both of them, 6 times, well, the Christ is on the earth, Pope Benedict has announced him.
No, didn't do anything.
And they did not even stop to ask, well, where is he? At which point I would have said, well, over the road, 103. Nope, didn't want to know, so I wasn't going to tell them.
All right, so what's the bottom line? 5 grams, they believe 5 grams of plutonium into the atmosphere by a satellite burning up is enough to kill all life on space. But they've got 72 kilograms of it in
floating around.
And there was a big cry about it when they did this, because what happens if it didn't go properly? Well, the rocket gets up there. That's the whole idea. There's no problem getting rockets up into space. They're just giant firecrackers, right? So this thing's just floating around. At any moment, they can nudge it back down into... That's it. Falls to the earth. And you've got all this plutonium that's going to kill everything in their minds, except It's harmless. Absolutely harmless. Okay?
So, time has already been shortened.
The time's going to be shortened, all right. So, they're all, of course, going to be out here, and all evil is just going to be dead meat.
Irradiated dead meat. You can eat it 9 years later and it's perfect.
Yeah.
With that, anything else?
No.
All right. Just thought we'd say.
I didn't say the Jew word once.
No, you said it
Several times.
several times. All right, guys.
All right.
Have fun.
Be happy.
Bye.